Leading from within, the power of purpose in inclusive leadership. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt that you didn't belong? That somehow, despite your qualifications, your ideas, your passion, you were still invisible. Now imagine feeling that way every single day of your professional life. This is the reality for too many talented individuals in our workplaces. The statistics tell a sobering story. Women make up nearly half of entry level employees, but women of color occupy just 6% of C suite roles. 6%. Let that sink in for a moment. Behind that number are thousands of brilliant minds, innovative thinkers, and natural leaders whose potential remains untapped, not because they lack ability, but because our systems weren't built with them in mind. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Garbralle Conroe, a visionary leader whose work in advancing equity and inclusion has transformed organizations across industries. Garbralle isn't just another consultant with a polished presentation. She's a force of nature who has personally guided dozens of Fortune 500 companies through profound cultural transformations. Her approach has literally changed the trajectory of countless careers, especially for women of color who previously found themselves staring at seemingly impenetrable glass ceilings. What makes Garbral's insights so powerful is that they're grounded in both data and lived experience. She understands that meaningful change doesn't come from theoretical frameworks alone. It emerges from authentic leadership that recognizes the humanity in everyone. During our conversation, one concept emerged as the foundation of authentic leadership, the kind that doesn't just manage people, but transforms organizations from the inside out. It starts with a simple question: why? Not why is this happening, though that's certainly important, but why are you here? What drives you? What is your purpose? When leaders connect with their core purpose, and Garbral explained, they unlock the ability to advance equity, embrace diverse cultures, and cultivate true inclusion. This isn't just idealistic thinking, it's backed by real world results. Consider what happened at a leading medical device company facing the challenge of launching a critical product in a market with urgent unmet needs. Despite having brilliant minds on their leadership team, their work was siloed. Each leader focused on individual accountability without connecting their efforts to the broader mission. The result? Misalignment, inefficiency, and a team that was less than the sum of its parts. It was like watching an orchestra where every musician was playing a different piece. Beautiful individual performances, perhaps, but collectively, chaos. But then something remarkable happened. The company adopted what they called a 360-degree leadership approach that emphasized shared responsibility and collective accountability. They empowered every team member, regardless of role or title. Team conversations clarified roles based on influence and capability rather than hierarchy. And the transformation was measurable. Collaboration improved by 29%, decision making quality by 20%, and overall performance by 17%. What changed? They aligned everyone around their collective why, the deeper purpose behind serving patients' needs. This clarity of purpose unlocked mutual support across departments that had previously operated in isolation. The company didn't just successfully launch their product, they developed new internal leaders who championed inclusion company wide. They set an industry benchmark for collaborative innovation driven by inclusive leadership principles, all because they started with why. This is what Garbral emphasized throughout our conversation. Authentic leadership isn't about having all the answers or being the loudest voice in the room. It's about understanding your purpose and using that clarity to create spaces where others can discover and live out their purpose too. But let's be honest. This work isn't easy. It requires vulnerability. It demands that we acknowledge uncomfortable truths about our organizations and ourselves. As one executive told me after implementing Garbralle's approach, it's like deciding to renovate your house and then discovering the foundation needs work. It's harder and messier than you planned, but the result is infinitely more stable and beautiful. The McKinsey Women in the Workplace report I mentioned earlier isn't just a collection of discouraging statistics, it's a call to action. For years, many companies treated diversity, equity, and inclusion as an HR issue, something to be delegated and checked off a list. But transformation only happened when CEOs made it central to organizational strategy. When organizations began aligning their DEI strategies directly with business goals and started diversifying senior leadership teams as visible proof points for change, they saw measurable improvements in employee morale, public reputation, and innovation capacity. Increased representation at executive levels sent powerful signals throughout organizations about whose voices matter. Mentorship programs paired rising Black professionals with influential sponsors. These changes helped reshape workplace norms so authentic inclusion became expected, not exceptional, for future generations. This is what real change looks like. Not performative statements or one time training sessions, but structural shifts that empower marginalized groups through authentic leadership commitment. As Garbralle pointed out during our interview, so creating environments where all voices are valued and systemic barriers are challenged begins with intentional actions from leaders who listen, learn, and share power. Let me say that again. Listen, learn, and share power. These aren't just nice words, they're a roadmap for transformation. Consider the impact of employee resource groups in creating spaces for connection among professionals who often feel isolated in predominantly white corporate cultures. These employee led groups focused on shared identities provide safe forums where members can express ideas freely, celebrate cultural heritage openly, and advise management on policies impacting underrepresented staff. The outcomes speak for themselves. Members report an increased sense of belonging, higher engagement scores, more confidence speaking up in meetings, and greater access to career development opportunities. Before these groups were formalized, many employees navigated challenges alone without institutional support networks, which limited advancement potential despite strong qualifications. Successful resource groups have influenced everything from hiring practices to marketing campaigns reflecting more authentic stories about diverse customers served. Companies known for robust employee led inclusion programs attract top talent seeking workplaces where diversity is celebrated, not just tolerated, and see measurable gains in retention rates among historically excluded groups. This example shows how empowering individuals around their unique whys leads not only to personal fulfillment, but also to system level progress toward genuine inclusion throughout organizations. As Maya Angelou once said, do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. This wisdom applies perfectly to the journey of inclusive leadership. We must continually learn, grow, and evolve our understanding of what it means to create truly equitable workplaces. Garbralle emphasized that real change happens when leaders model vulnerability, foster shared responsibility across teams, and actively mentor underrepresented talent to open doors for others. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's not enough to understand your purpose or to create spaces for others to share their voices. True leadership requires action, sometimes uncomfortable, always intentional action. It means looking around your meeting table and asking who isn't here that should be. It means interrupting when someone is spoken over and saying, I'd like to hear the rest of what she was saying. It means mentoring talent that doesn't look like you, think like you, or share your background, and doing so not as a favor, but as a recognition of their inherent value and potential. It means examining your own biases, privileges, and blind spots, not with shame or defensiveness, but with curiosity and a commitment to growth. And perhaps most importantly, it means sharing power, not hoarding it, not wielding it over others, but distributing it so that decisions are made by diverse voices with diverse perspectives. I'm reminded of the words of Audre Lorde. It is not our differences that divide us, it is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences. The leaders who will thrive in the future aren't those who pretend differences don't exist or try to make everyone conform to a single way of being. They're the ones who recognize that our differences are our greatest strength, that innovation, creativity, and excellence flourish in environments where diverse perspectives are not just tolerated, but actively sought out. So, where do we go from here? How do we take these insights from Garbralle Conroe and turn them into action? It starts with reflection. What is your why? What drives you? What is the purpose that gets you out of bed in the morning and keeps you going when challenges arise? Once you've clarified your purpose, use it as your compass. Let it guide your decisions, your interactions, your leadership style. Then take one concrete step this week. Start one conversation aimed at amplifying someone else's voice or challenging a barrier you've noticed in your workplace. It could be as simple as asking a quiet team member for their perspective in a meeting, or as bold as proposing a new mentorship program for underrepresented talent. The size of the action matters less than the intention behind it, because here's the truth. Change doesn't happen all at once. It happens in moments, in conversations, in small decisions that eventually add up to cultural transformation. Today, I challenge you to become what our world desperately needs: a leader who leads from within, not from a place of ego or authority, but from purpose and authenticity. The path ahead isn't easy. You'll face resistance, you'll make mistakes. You'll have days when it seems easier to retreat into comfortable patterns and familiar faces. But I ask you, what kind of world do you want to build? What kind of leader do you want to be remembered as? Will you be the one who maintained the status quo? Or will you be the one who had the courage to create spaces where everyone, regardless of gender, race, background, or identity, could bring their full selves to the table? The choice is yours, and it begins with your why. Let that purpose guide you as you listen more deeply, learn more openly, and share power more courageously than you ever have before. Because when we lead from within, when we connect with our purpose and use it to advance equity, embrace diverse cultures, and cultivate true inclusion, we don't just transform our workplaces, we transform ourselves, we transform our communities, and ultimately, we transform our world. The question isn't whether you can make a difference, the question is, will you?